5,000 years ago, a farmer in ancient Egypt dug a hole under his floor and buried part of his harvest inside it. Not because he was hiding it from thieves. He was hiding it from his own government. Because every 2 years, officials walked through Egypt, counting cattle, weighing grain, measuring oil. And whatever they found, they took a share. By force, if necessary. This wasn't a donation. It wasn't charity. It was the world's first tax. And apparently, humans started trying to hide from it almost immediately. Before you say, taxes are a modern government thing, let me stop you. The earliest tax records we have are over 5,000 years old. Older than the pyramids at Giza. Older than the wheel being widely used. So the real question isn't, did ancient civilizations invent taxes? We know they did. The real question is, why did humans, right at the birth of civilization, immediately decide someone had to pay for it? And what happened when people refused? Let's go back to Egypt's first dynasty, around 3000 BCE. Egypt had just been unified, Upper and Lower Egypt, brought under one crown. And almost immediately, the new state needed something. Revenue. The Egyptians called this event Shemsu-Hor, the following of Horus. The pharaoh and his advisors literally traveled the kingdom. They assessed the value of livestock. They measured grain reserves. They collected taxes on cattle, oil, beer, ceramics. But grain mattered most of all. Egypt didn't have coined money yet. So grain became something else entirely. It became currency. Stored in massive state warehouses, grain paid for labor, funded the government, and fed the workers who built some of the most massive structures in human history. That's right, the wealth extracted through Egypt's earliest tax system is part of what funded the pyramids at Giza. You can't separate one from the other. But taxation wasn't only about money. In the ancient world, there was something the state wanted even more than grain. Something every ordinary person owed, whether they liked it or not. In Mesopotamia and Egypt, taxes didn't stop at goods. There was a second tax, and you couldn't pay it with money at all. It's called corvée labor. If you were an ordinary citizen, not royalty, not an official, the state could conscript you. Forced, unpaid labor, digging irrigation canals, building temple walls, hauling stone for royal tombs. If you held land, you owed work. It was that simple. Some people went to extraordinary lengths to escape it. Historical records show Egyptians paying monthly fees to become temple servants, specifically because that status came with an exemption from forced labor. Think about that. People were willing to pay money, permanently, just to avoid a different kind of tax. Meanwhile, in Babylon, the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest written law codes in human history, contained over 280 rules governing commerce, trade, and tariffs. Taxation wasn't an afterthought in these societies. It was written into the very foundation of law itself. So if taxes are this old, if they're baked into the birth of civilization itself, you'd expect people to have simply accepted it by now. They didn't. Throughout history, taxation has triggered some of the most violent uprisings humanity has ever recorded. Centuries later, the Roman Empire taxed its citizens in several ways. A general sales tax, a slave sales tax, and a poll tax charged on every adult, regardless of income. That poll tax in particular was deeply resented, and it fueled numerous revolts across the empire. But you don't have to go back to Rome to see this pattern. In 1791, the brand new United States government passed its first federal tax, an excise tax on distilled spirits. Small distillers in western Pennsylvania were hit especially hard, paying nearly double what large producers paid per gallon. The resentment didn't stay quiet. By 1794, it exploded into armed resistance. The Whiskey Rebellion. President George Washington personally led nearly 13,000 militia troops into Pennsylvania to put it down, making him the only sitting U.S. president in history to personally command troops in the field. From ancient Rome to the American frontier, the pattern never changed. Tax the people. Some pay, some refuse, some fight. So here's the real question. If taxation has existed for over 5,000 years, if people have revolted against it in nearly every civilization on Earth, why has it never once been abolished? Because taxation was never just about money. It was the mechanism that made large-scale civilization possible in the first place. Every irrigation canal, every road, every temple, every pyramid, every army that defended a kingdom, all of it required resources pulled from ordinary people. Without taxation, you don't get cities. You don't get monuments. You don't get organized government at all. Historians studying ancient administration describe this plainly. Most early governments were highly motivated to extract as much revenue as possible, within whatever political limits their people would tolerate. That tension, between what a state needs and what its people will accept, is exactly the same tension driving tax debates today. We didn't invent that argument. We inherited it from the very first civilizations on Earth. Here's what I want you to take from this. That farmer, burying grain under his floor 5,000 years ago, he wasn't a criminal. He was just a man trying to keep what he'd earned. And somewhere, right now, someone is doing the exact same thing, just with better hiding spots. The next time you feel frustrated about taxes, you're participating in humanity's oldest ongoing argument. An argument that started on the banks of the Nile, when a pharaoh's officials first walked through a village and asked a farmer to hand over part of his harvest. Civilization and taxation were born on the exact same day. One simply cannot exist without the other. We spent 5,000 years arguing about how much is fair. We're still not done. Subscribe to Human Roots. Comment below. Do you think taxation is a necessary price of civilization, or something we've never gotten right? See you next time.